Hello. We are going to have a presentation on solving literal equations. To start off with, we need to address what are literal equations. Literal equations are equations where numbers are represented by variables. Where numbers are represented by variables. You can think of literal equations often as formulas. For instance, a formula that you're very familiar with, area of a rectangle is length times width. Now, if you know the length and the width, you can find the area. But oftentimes we wish to express this equation in another format. For instance, if I ask you to solve for the length, you would take the equation, area equals length times width, and you would divide both sides by what? I want to get the length, this, all by itself. It's multiplication. I put the dot here, but whether I have the dot or I have it written like this, it doesn't matter. It's multiplication. We divide. We divide both sides by W. We now have the W's cancel, and the length equals A over W. We have solved for L. On today's, or if you're watching this not today, on Thursdays, during Thursday's class, when we had the PSAT practice, we had a problem that looked like this: 3 times x plus y equals y, and you were asked to find what x over y equals. It's the same idea. We take our equation, 3 times x plus y equals y, and I manipulate this to get x over y. I'm going to start by distributing my 3x plus 3y equals y. Combine my like terms. I have y's on both sides. And I get 3x equals negative 2y. Now I need to think about what I want. I want x over y. So if I want a y in the denominator, I'm going to have to divide both sides by y. Now I have x over y, but I have this 3. So I also divide by 3. My 3's cancel, my y's cancel, and I have x over y equals negative 2/3. Another example, and we're going to do 2 more, would be the perimeter of a rectangle equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. We want to solve this equation for W. So perimeter equals 2L plus 2W. I want to solve for W. That means I need to get rid of this 2L. I need to move it to the other side. I do that by subtracting. Subtract 2L, and I subtract 2L. Always do it to both sides of the equation. Now, P minus 2L, they're not like terms. They are not like terms. So I just write P minus 2L equals, those canceled, 2W. I want W by itself, so I need to divide both sides by 2. Cancels, and I'm left with W equals P minus 2L over 2. All right? We're just isolating the variable. Now, the reality is, in a lot of ways, this is the easiest thing we've done because we're not actually doing arithmetic. I divide both sides by 2. I don't do any computation. I just put it over 2. So the amount of work is actually less. Lastly, I want to look at an equation like volume of a cone. I do not know if you learned this last year. Volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. We are going to solve this equation for 2 different variables. We're going to do 2 separate problems. One, we're going to solve it for h. So the volume is 1/3 pi r squared h. First of all, I want to get rid of the fraction. And we've done that numerous times this year. What do I do to both sides of the equation to get rid of the fraction? I multiply by 3. 3's cancel. I have 3v equals pi r squared h. Since this is all multiplication, whether I put a dot here and a dot here or not, doesn't matter. It's still multiplication. So what I'm going to do is divide. Divide both sides by whatever I want to move. I want to move the pi, divide by pi. I want to move the r squared, divide by r squared. Pi's cancel, r squareds cancel. H is now by itself. H equals 3v over pi r squared. Now, I want to do the problem a second time. I'm going to solve for r. Solve for r. Whoops. It's not a capital R, it's a lowercase r. Solve for r. So volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h. Same idea. We want to get rid of the 3 first, get rid of the fractions. We multiply by 3. So I have 3v equals pi r squared h. I then want to get the r squared by itself. I divide both sides by pi h. pi, because I want the pi's to cancel. H, because I want the h squareds to cancel. And I now have r squared equals 3v over pi h. So lowercase h. And now, the last thing, and this is a little bit different, we take the square root of both sides. We haven't talked about this yet, but if we take the square root of both sides, the square root of r squared equals r. So my radius is 3v over pi h. Okay, that ends this presentation. On Monday, we'll do some practice problems. Have a great day.